When healing isn't perfect, the courage to be unfinished. Have you ever noticed how we're obsessed with perfect endings? Those movie moments where everything wraps up neatly in the final scene. The survivor walks confidently into the sunset, completely healed, utterly transformed. But what if I told you that real healing doesn't look like that at all? I recently had the privilege of interviewing Kristie King, a remarkable advocate whose work has transformed how thousands of survivors navigate their healing journeys. Her insights into survival and healing have fundamentally shifted how I understand courage. What makes Kristie extraordinary isn't just her wisdom or her advocacy, it's her revolutionary honesty. In a world demanding polished narratives, she stands firmly in her truth, showing others that healing doesn't require perfection to be powerful. Her willingness to stand in the messy middle of her journey and say, I'm still figuring this out, has created ripples of permission that have reached countless survivors who previously believed they were failing at recovery. And that, I've come to believe, is where true fearlessness lives. We've created this mythology around trauma survivors, especially those who've experienced domestic violence. We expect them to emerge from their darkest moments like butterflies from cocoons, completely transformed, perfectly healed, inspirationally resilient. We want their stories tied with neat bows because their messiness makes us uncomfortable. But as Kristie King's work reveals, healing isn't linear. It's not a checklist, and it's certainly not perfect. Think about it. When was the last time you admitted you weren't okay? When did you last resist the urge to say, I'm fine, when you absolutely weren't? Our culture has made vulnerability feel dangerous, when in reality, it might be our greatest source of connection. Let me share something that might surprise you. According to the insights from CNS Healthcare's work with survivors, many women arrive at support programs feeling broken because they can't quickly return to normalcy. They believe they've failed at recovery because healing hasn't followed their expected timeline. But here's what's fascinating. Those who embrace the non-linear nature of their journey often find deeper healing than those who force themselves into performative wellness. Consider the story of Hyatt, a survivor documented by domestic shelters. After enduring escalating abuse, including sexual assault, she faced a critical decision. Society expected her to lead in a particular way, to follow the proper channels. But Hyatt recognized something profound. Sometimes survival means making choices others might not understand. She left without warning her abuser, prioritizing her safety above social conventions. Was it messy? Absolutely. Was it the perfect exit strategy? Not according to conventional wisdom, but it was authentic to her needs in that moment. The aftermath wasn't a tidy resolution either. Hyatt struggled with psychological hurdles, with feeling broken inside, even as she moved toward freedom. Her path forward wasn't straight. It zigzagged through doubt, through grief, through anger, through moments of unexpected joy, followed by crushing setbacks. And that's the first lesson Kristie King's insights reveal. Healing is not linear, and that's okay. We need to stop expecting survivors to follow some predetermined recovery roadmap. The journey after surviving domestic violence rarely follows a straight line, it zigzags, it loops back on itself. Some days feel like massive steps forward, others like sliding backward down a hill you thought you'd already climbed. And here's the revolutionary idea: that inconsistency isn't failure, it's human. When we embrace uncertainty and give ourselves permission to evolve at our own pace, we're practicing a profound form of courage. We're saying, I don't have to have it all figured out to be worthy of taking up space in this world. Let that sink in for a moment. You don't have to have it all figured out to be worthy of taking up space in this world. Mary Lou Smith certainly didn't have it all figured out when she finally left her abuser at age 65 after 43 years of marriage, 43 years of walking on eggshells, 43 years of maintaining the outward image society expected from her as the spouse of a respected public figure. Smith's testimony before lawmakers revealed something crucial about healing. It doesn't operate on society's timetable. For decades, she endured emotional wounds that ran deeper than physical ones. Her sense of self worth eroded under constant threat until she finally realized that survival required redefining herself outside of societal expectations. Was it too late? Some might say so, but her courage to speak truth, even late in life, became transformative, not just for her, but for countless others. Her testimony contributed to legislative change that now acknowledges psychological harm as equally damaging as physical abuse. Can you imagine the courage that took to stand before lawmakers and say, for 43 years, I lived a life that looked perfect from the outside while I was dying inside? To acknowledge that healing sometimes starts at 65 instead of 25. To admit that you spent decades trying to fix something that was never yours to fix in the first place. This brings us to the second vital insight from Kristie King's work. Seeking support is a strength, not a weakness. We have this toxic narrative in our culture that true strength means handling everything alone. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps. Don't air your dirty laundry. Keep your problems to yourself. But survivors are not meant to heal in isolation. Professional support through therapy, counseling, and community groups is often essential in reclaiming joy and mental wellness after trauma. The work of CNS Healthcare with Black women survivors navigating PTSD after domestic violence illustrates this beautifully. Their trauma informed care networks offer therapy and peer support groups that create spaces where vulnerability becomes strength. Many participants initially resist seeking help due to cultural taboos surrounding both domestic violence and mental health. There's often pressure toward resilience over vulnerability, to be the strong Black woman who handles everything without complaint. But those who build robust support systems, including professional counseling alongside faith based and spiritual guidance, report improved confidence managing anxiety and depression symptoms. More importantly, they develop greater willingness to share their stories openly, which helps destigmatize healing journeys across generations. Building a strong network isn't admitting defeat, it's strategic. It's leaning into trusted friends, family members, spiritual leaders, or professionals who can walk with you through your healing journey. It's recognizing that even the strongest among us need scaffolding sometimes. This leads us to perhaps the most powerful insight from my conversation with Kristie King. Your story and your voice deserve space. Sharing your authentic experience can inspire others who may still be suffering in silence. Speaking up about discomfort and survival challenges the harmful narrative that we must appear perfect while struggling inside. I'm reminded of a quote by Brene Brown: owning our story and loving ourselves through that process is the bravest thing we'll ever do. When survivors speak their truth, they're not just healing themselves, they're creating ripples that reach shores they may never see. Think about it this way: every time someone shares their unfiltered story of survival, they're essentially saying to others still trapped in abuse, you're not crazy, this is real, and you deserve better. That's what happened when Mary Lou Smith testified publicly about coercive control. Her words weren't just cathartic personally, they were catalytic socially. They inspired policy shifts benefiting countless unseen victims statewide. Using your voice to advocate for yourself and others isn't about having a perfect story to tell, it's about honesty. Fearlessness lies not in being unafraid, but in speaking truth despite your fear. So, where does this leave us? What should we do differently after hearing these insights from Kristie King? First, challenge yourself and those around you to embrace imperfection during periods of transformation. If you're struggling post trauma or supporting someone who is, prioritize seeking out supportive networks rather than isolating behind put together facades. Speak honestly about where you are emotionally today, even if it feels unfinished, or encourage loved ones doing the same. Let go of old narratives demanding perfection before progress. Instead, focus on small steps toward wholeness each day. And perhaps most importantly, create spaces where others feel safe to be unfinished too. I want to leave you with this challenge. What if, starting today, you refuse to wait until your healing was complete before you considered yourself worthy? What if you decided that your unfinished, imperfect journey was exactly what the world needs right now? Because here's the truth that Kristie King's work so powerfully illuminates: the world doesn't need more people pretending to have it all together. It needs more people brave enough to say, I'm still in process, and that process matters. Your unfinished healing isn't a liability, it's your greatest offering. Your willingness to stand in the messy middle of your story creates permission for others to do the same. And in a world obsessed with polished narratives and Instagram perfect lives, that permission might be the most revolutionary gift you can give. So today, I urge you, claim your right to be unfinished. Speak your truth without apology. Reach for support without shame. And remember that the most powerful healers aren't those who've arrived, they're those who've had the courage to begin the journey and the authenticity to acknowledge every stumble along the way. Because in the end, it's not the perfect healing that changes the world, it's the authentic one. And that transformation begins the moment we stop waiting for perfection and start embracing the profound courage of being exactly who and where we are. Thank you.